Let's talk about the evil inside of your heart. So when we're learning about the account of the flood, there are two verses that come to mind that speak about evil and man's heart, but they have very different thrust. The first speaks about God's reason for destroying all flesh from the earth, and the second is about when God promised not to do so again. Now, these verses are very, very different, and they tell us that there was a fundamental difference between the generation of the flood and the generation after the flood. And we have to look at the wording to understand this. When we encounter God's plan to destroy all flesh from the earth, the verse tells us that God saw the evil of man was great on earth, and every imagination of his heart was only evil all the time. Whereas when he promised not to destroy the earth in the same manner again, the verse says, because the inclination of his heart is evil from his youth. There are so many questions here. Are human beings bad from birth? What is the difference between the generation of the flood and the generation after the flood? We have to unpack this. So the first thing you need to know is that all human beings are born with an inclination that can lead them toward evil. When a baby is born, his entire world outlook is me, 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 me. It's about selfishness, not subservience. And obviously the goal is to get him to grow up, to begin to expand his worldview, to think about other people, and most importantly, to serve God simply because it is the good and correct thing to do. Though we have this natural pull towards evil, as we age, if we're developing correctly, we grow into cognitive adults who have the ability to overcome that pull towards evil and self-centeredness. Now, just because we have this internal pull, it doesn't mean that we are evil. It doesn't mean that we are contaminated with sin. It doesn't mean that we're irredeemable. It means actually the opposite. It means that we have the potential for virtue when we overcome that pull and we choose righteousness. And that potential, in fact, is why God promised not to destroy the world in the same way that he did during the generation of the flood. Let's go back and look at Genesis 6:5 again. Every imagination of his heart was only evil all the time. You see, the generation of the flood had squandered that potential for righteousness. They, as a society, had degenerated to the point in which corruption was rampant. People were doing evil simply for evil's sake. There was no room in their hearts for turning to God, to obeying him. It was all about me, 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 what I want. These guys didn't just have a drive toward evil. Evil was their entire way of life. Every single one of their plans was evil. They all did evil with joy. So they weren't destroyed because they had a pull towards evil or because they were completely and totally contaminated by Adam's sin. No. They were destroyed because they had made evil a complete way of life and they didn't want God in the picture at all. They wanted to be their own gods and do whatever they wanted. They didn't care about works. They didn't care about righteousness. Moreover, those people refused to repent when they were told they were going to be destroyed. When Noah was building his ark, it was in order to give them time to repent. And then when the rain started falling, they could have repented. But no, they chose to continue in their evil ways. They loved their evil. They loved their wickedness. There was no room for anything else inside their lives. The point is that there was no hope for that sort of humanity. So God came along and he cleansed the world of this rebelliousness and this wickedness. And there remained human beings that God could work with. Human beings who had this natural pull toward evil. But they weren't so completely corrupt that wickedness was all that they craved. Through Noah, the world was recalibrated, giving human beings another chance to earn virtue through overcoming wickedness and choosing good. And God knew that there would never be another generation just like this again, in which everybody rebelliously relished in evil. So he promised that wasn't going to happen again. Today, every human being has a choice to choose good over evil or evil over good. They can destroy themselves or they can earn merit by behaving virtuously. And I do want to say that not everybody has free will on the same level. Ultimately, we want everybody to fulfill all the commandments completely and totally. But we're human beings and we do have this pull toward evil, and it's difficult to overcome at times. So even if you feel like, I can't do that commandment, at least want it. Make sure that you have room in your heart to want to serve God and to ask him to help you. And every single day move in that direction in small steps. And if you keep trying, you are gonna get there.